Do you guys know we're working on a wall?
Well, we are.
I just planed some nice windowsills down to a 3/8 inch. Nice. Now Brian is adding some furring strips so that we can put the sill in. Right, Ron?
Right. Okay, so initially when we put this wall up, we secured the wall to the furring strip that was already on the wall. However, because the sill is significantly higher, the GRKs can't reach that furring strip down there whenever the sill is on. So what we ended up doing was grabbing some 2x4s that were part of the pallet skids that we had taken all the nails out of, and all I did was rip some 2x4s down into furring strips from the pallets. So they're reclaimed.
Yay.
It's nice, right? So now these little furring strips need to be lower than the level at which the sill's gonna go in, and I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that way, whenever we go screw the sill in, we'll have something to screw into that's not just the, como se dice, the plywood here, because we could throw a GRK just directly in the middle of the plywood, but if someone's leaning on it because they're having a good time or whatever, like, yeah, you want it a little bit more anus behind it.
So you can set a drink on it. So as a lot of you know, I'm sure right now lumber is at a major premium. We just bought what we hope is our last plywood run. 6 sheets of plywood for almost 500 bucks.
Oh, and a thing of
Canadian.
urethane.
What?
And a thing of urethane.
Oh, and a thing of urethane. Verathane. But still, that's crazy. Like the last time we got plywood, it was not even close to that price.
No,
so.
It was like $40 a sheet, and this time it was over 60.
Yeah. And that hasn't even been that long ago. Like maybe a month in between there. What's happening, guys? What's happening in this world?
Yeah, what do you think's going on?
It's time to start asking questions about inflation and just, it's time to start asking questions. I'm gonna go over these with a little sandpaper, like a 220 grit once we're all done, and then I'm gonna Verathane every single wall up in here. Really like the beeswax finish, but it's not as durable as what we'd like for walls and stuff. Like these walls are like insta scuff marks, so it would be nice to have something that you could wipe a little more easy, and the beeswax, it doesn't protect your wood from scuff marks. So we mark where the wall is, and then we're going to make the ledge a 1/2 inch of an overhang off of that line.
'Cause it's cute.
It's cute.
So let's see if we throw a tape to this. So that's 3 3/4, so we'll add a 1/2 inch, which will be 4 1/4, right? Yep. Now let's look at this side. This one is a little bit bigger than 3 3/4 by a 1/16 of an inch. So that's why I like to do the scribe line, because nothing's really square here, y'all. I don't know if you've noticed that about our build. Not yet.
Alright, there's our ledge.
There's the original line, and then a 1/2 inch up gives us our cut line. This is gonna be a little freehand table saw action. I don't necessarily condone this activity. It's risky, but so is life. So is walking across the street. not perfectly straight, but that's part of our windowsills. Having a little bit of flow in them makes them look pretty cool. Okay, so that's where the furring strip ends, is right about there. And then over here.
This looks so good.
Yeah. While Aaron continues with the floor project, I am working on walls. So, getting ready to do the pantry wall here. I got a little piece to kind of size. I did a rough cut on it, just from the floor to the bottom edge of this sill here. But because nothing's square, we're gonna have to make some adjustments to it because like it kind of dips down a little bit, goes up. We'll make it work. So this this switch gang 3 gang box here is actually going to be on the side of the pantry here. So that's why all this extra wire is right here. But this piece is going to be flush against here. So we're going to have to take this off and somehow arrange it so that it's not in the way while we put this up. And then we need to cut a little area off up here so that the wires can pass through. If that makes sense. So this outlet used to be right here, and we're here in the kitchen area, right between the where the living room is going to be. But we can't have this outlet here anymore because we're going to move it to the end of the pantry over here. So what we're doing is we're putting in a junction box, and here's how it looks. Basically, we've got the two blacks and the two reds, which these are actually white, so we'll tape these white. And those are all just wire nut together with morettes. And then the grounds are also wire nutted together, and each of the grounds from the wires are screwed into the backs of the box here. This is an actual junction box, so it's got a flat plate that goes on the front whenever we're all finished, that's screwed into here. But we'll just secure it just like we do a normal outlet and bend the wires back in on themselves just like a normal outlet. The difference I did here though is I am taping the wire nut or the moret to the wire so that if these ever vibrate off, they're at least held with the tape and prevents them from trying to back out. So we'll get these dressed up in here. And now that those are in, we'll loosen these. There we go. And so now we're going to, because we still want that plug right over there in service, so now that wire comes to here, it reconnects, and then I'm sending this new wire over here to the end, and we'll get those tacked down here to reconnect this outlet here on the end. So this outlet we're not going to place just quite yet because it's going to actually go in the wall of the pantry, and it's going to face this direction here. And I need to put this wall up first, and then I'll have a place that I can throw a stud in and then throw this in. So what we're going to do is just leave these wires coiled up for right the moment, and once we get this wall put up, then we'll be able to get this one wired in.
We are officially getting closer and closer to putting up a pantry. So, I've been working on this project again. It is looking slick. I got a little bit of spillage. I'm just gonna sand that off. In a past video, you probably saw me putting the beeswax finish on the face of one of these. I decided against it. It really sopped it up. This wood is super, super porous, and I figured for cupboard doors, this being a touch point, I probably need to do the Varathane thing. And now that we have tried the beeswax stuff in high traffic areas, I think that the Varathane is just a little more suitable. I'm really pumped how these are turning out. 2 of them are gonna be for the pantry, and 1 is going in the bedroom over the bed. So my strategy for this was just to sand it down, get them nice and clean. I rounded the edges a little bit because these are old. They're secondhand. We got them for 18 bucks at Restore. So I figured once I put the stain on, then afterwards I could go back and just hand sand any little bloopers that I made and then put the Varathane on everything as the final coat. The original doors were this color entirely. You may have seen that in a past video. I really like the contrast though, so that's what I'm working on. I've already tested some of the little spots where I made a blooper and got it on the lighter color, and I was able to sand it off really easily. So I'm not too worried about making mistakes here because it'll be pretty easy to just sand it like that one. I'll just sand that off later. What you working on?
Oh, still working on walls. Looking at all the drops. These are unaccounted for drops, which means they don't really have a home. So I'm just finding one that'd be suitable for the next piece.
Scavenging.
Scavenger, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I'll leave it to it.
Thank you.
Now the fun stuff. We're making a really cute little light fixture for right here out of black iron pipe to the shop. There it is. Just a few little pieces of iron pipe put together with a floor flange. Yesterday I painted it flat black, but the little plastic parts that are going to hold the light bulb are shiny black. So I'm gonna see if I have a glossy black so that the little plastic part doesn't look cheap and then it kind of all just blends together.
But before we paint it, I'm gonna drill a hole in it so that we can have a little set screw that's gonna go through here, and you'll see how we're gonna connect the light bulb outlet to it. So I've got a machine screw here. So it's got threads on it that are designed for metal. I got a cobalt bit that's smaller than the threads on this, but is about the same size as the shaft of the screw minus the threads. And then I've got a tapper here. So we'll see if we could start the tap with these, so tapping the threads, and then we'll screw that screw in. So first we're gonna drill a hole right here through the thread. And I'm going slow to start because I don't want the bit walking around on me. All right, we are through. We got a little hole there. So that's nice. We'll just test the hole, make sure that, yep, it looks like it's probably the right size. Now let's see if we can get the thread started with the tap. So this tap, what it is, basically it's a screwdriver with little threads and notches in it. So it'll start to create a thread essentially into the metal so that the threads have something to guide them. So let's go a little bit further. There we go. All right, let's unscrew this. And this is unscrewing fine, so I think that the tap worked. Yep, you can see the little threading action that happened in there. And then now we're gonna set the screw where it needs to go. And then I'm gonna start driving it slowly with the impact driver. Perfect. So our tap worked. Now this is threading in and out of that hole perfectly. So next up we'll be able to dry fit the actual outlet and make sure that it sticks nicely in there.
Dry fit, Brian's classic dry fit.
Yeah, so let's loosen this a little bit more. There we go. There it goes. Holds on great.
Cute.
So now what we can do is we can cut this bolt here, or this screw, so it's shorter.
Nice.
Now that the tap is done. So we just need to see how much that screw actually enters the pipe. And I've got a line on there now with the pencil. Yeah, thank you. Because we'll cut off half this screw now. So it goes into the steel and touches the outlet by about 1/4 of an inch. So we'll probably just cut off half of this screw and then it'll be long enough.
The flat finish with the shiny finish is just meh. It's okay. Meh. I think that it makes the plastic look cheap. So if we can get that pipe shiny, then they'll just be a beautiful cohesive thing. Oh yeah.
All right, so now that we've got the next piece that's going to be right about here, we need to figure out how we're going to cut out the wheel well. And I think using Aaron's technique, tracing is gonna be here for the win. So let's figure out where that needs to go and then we'll just trace on the backside. What do you think?
Yeah, trace for the win.
All right, so first we need to figure out where the wheel well starts in respect to the floor and the wall. So I've got 36.5 inches right there. So now we need to measure the back edge here to 36.5 inches. There's 36.5 right there. All right, so now that we have that, all I'm gonna do is take the pen and I've got it on the wheel well, and I've got the tip up just a little bit, just so that there's a little bit extra wiggle room. It's gonna be under the couch, so I'm not worried if it goes a little bit high. We're not gonna go too high though, just the pen width.
What about the coolant lines? We'll add an inch or something.
Yeah, we need to add a little bit for that. But this is the basic shape. Yeah. All right, so now we're measuring the coolant lines, and it looks like they're about 1.5 inches. So when we go back into the shop, I'll just measure up 1.5 inches and then trace a new line so that the coolant lines sit underneath the wood.
Something that you always have to keep in mind when you're doing a creative project is that there's phases, and there's always ugly phases. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. Mixed in with the beautiful phases. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and look at your art project and be like, okay, well, once I sand it, it's gonna be just fine. I was really, for a moment there, regretting that I put this dark stain on these. I was like, shit, I should have just Varathaned the whole damn thing after I got it sanded. Because I just made a lot more work for myself. And I'm totally obsessed with these doors. So there's no way that I'm gonna just like ditch them or like send them back to Restore or something. I want to finish out this project, and I think that I'm onto something here. I just made more work for myself with the darker stain on the slats in the center. So you live, you learn. Dang. So sample. That's nice. I'm not sure if you saw that yet. We're in the thick of it, kids. Our first big rainstorm in the Skoolie. That is so fun. Oh my gosh. What do you think, Brian?
It feels so good. We have all the windows open. Nothing's leaking.
Not yet.
So pretty happy with that.
So I just got this whole wall sanded. All the little where Brian put in the screws, it leaves like a scraggly, like this, like a scraggly bit. So I just sanded all those bits off on this entire wall, vacuumed it off, and now I'm ready to Varathane. This paintbrush I've had in the barn in this bag. It's a lot cooler in there. And look at how nice and moist that stayed. It's perfect. As long as you keep it sealed up, it'll stay pretty good for you. So you're probably starting to get used to painting and sealing and stuff with me now. But if you are new, usually what I like to do is start up along the edges, and then in this case we're gonna go with the grain. So I'm gonna do kind of all my edging, and then I'm just gonna go with the grain. Sound easy enough? To do the complete edge. You don't need a lot of this stuff. In this case we'll do the edge and the seam. The only problem here is that the grains go in two different directions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the full seam straight down to the bottom, and then once I get to this side I'm just going to brush this way. Let me show you. Do the whole seam, and then what I'll do is I'll just do a little bit on this edge, go in this direction. Then I don't have a hard line going against the grain. I like to do it that way so that I get right into the seam, and then I don't have any ugly lines on it with the Varathane after. You don't want to use a roller when you're putting on Varathane, or even a lot of sealant coats and a lot of like stains and stuff, because what you'll find is that the more you beat this kind of stuff up, the more bubbles and stuff you get. So brush it down, kids.
Next up, we get to make a window ledge.
Yeah, we tore apart the kitchen. We've got almost all the stuff out of the kitchen, so we're working on the window ledge, and then behind the cubbies.
Yeah, that should be fun.
Whew. Yeah. Brian had a great idea. We're gonna take this out We're gonna take these out and that wall, the 3 pieces there, which should make our life easier. Then we can put the full sheet back there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Had we already done plumbing and electrical and insulation and not built this counter, we would have put the wall in before building the counter because it would have been a lot easier. But our timelines are a little crazy, so this is just what we ended up doing. And I know that there's a lot of different ways of doing stuff, but our design kept on changing as we were going. And so this is just how you work around it.
I think something else that is really big for the way that we built things was finances. What money did we have at the time? At the time, we had cash to buy the counter material, which actually we got a really great deal from a friend on this. So that was the money we had for that. Like every project, wouldn't you say? Like a year ago, we were like, okay, how much money do we have? And we were kind of building project to project.
Cash flowing it.
Cash flowing it, because that's how much money we had and the funds that were available. So not everything went up in the correct way, but you'll find that too with your build. It may depend on finances, it may be time constraints, it may have to do with how you want your layout. For us, our layout was the most important, and we wanted to make sure that the layout was exactly how we wanted it.
All right, so there's gonna be a ledge that comes out from underneath the window and then meets underneath this countertop here. And the reason being is we just need a little splash zone for like when we're washing dishes and stuff. I'm gonna cut that little square out. All right, so as we are making cuts on our plywood, what I've been doing is labeling where they go, because this is a drop from another piece, but it ends up actually being, in this case, the fridge wall, so the wall behind the fridge. And for anything that we have a drop of, we also have tons of drawers and cupboards and all sorts of stuff to, hey! We also have tons of drawers and stuff that we're gonna be building. And so what I've been doing is stacking them up right over here in similar sizes so that when it comes time to build the drawers, we just go and grab whatever size we need. Pretty cool, huh?
Sorry, I thought you'd be loud enough to talk over it. This one under the ledge, right?
Yep. You might have to pull your wool back.
Pull back your wool.
I'm gonna set it up here and slide it in from behind.
Slide that puppy in. There it goes. Hold on, hold on. Let me make sure the wool's out of the way. Yeah, right on. Oh yeah!
Ho, 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 ho.
After today's thunderstorm, we discovered a leak. No.
Cannot believe this.
Got our whole ceiling torn apart again. Pain in the ass. All that shit.
Good thing that these lights are suitable for wet environments.
Alright, look at this. Drip, drip. Drip, drip, drip. What a bugger.
I don't even know.
More drips and cutting up all of our insulation stitching. I'm gonna piss off.
What's cool is we'll be able to stitch it all back together and wool doesn't mold. So if this was like fiberglass insulation, we'd be screwed. But considering it's not.
That's true.
Look at that. Look at it.
Brian's measuring for furring strips.
Fur strips.
Oh, that looks good. So all of our cabinetry stuff is gonna stay natural colored wood, and then all the walls are gonna be white. We talked about that in another video. Look at this mess. Goddamn. This is even more.
That was unexpected mess.
This is unexpected and really disappointing. Every day it seems like there's some kind of challenge. Like the other day we were almost done plumbing the recirculating shower, and then we ran out of like 2 or 3 plumbing parts that we needed. This has become a project. More of a project than we were hoping it would be, but we have figured out the blessing in disguise, haven't we, Garcia?
What's the blessing?
Okay, so I figured it out.
Privy to this blessing in disguise.
Blessing in disguise is the catwalk's not up yet. If the catwalk was up, then it would be a hell of a lot more of a problem, because then we would be taking the decking off the roof to get to the dickhead leaks. Penis in the anus? Big time.
Darn tootin'.
Blessing in disguise? I guess. We're getting set up. I've already peeled quite a bit of this old sealant up, and now I'll continue to do that, and then I'm going to seam seal it because that shit's bomb-proof.
Bomb-proof. If we knew about seam sealer when we started doing the roof sealing stuff, we would have never used caulking. Never.
We would use seam sealer on everything.
Every seam.
Everything!
Everything!
Even these hockey pucks. Okay, let me show you what I'm up to. Got all kinds of stuff in the works here. Alright, I've been pulling up all the sealant whole way up to that skylight. So we're looking for stuff like this that hasn't stuck. As I've been pulling this stuff up, see little spots, even just like this doesn't really look like a big deal, but then when it gets pulled up, stuff like this, there's been water under the whole damn thing. So it's obviously collecting water like a dingus.
How's it going?
Haven't got too far, huh?
Wow, you got that clean. Looks good.
See that bag?
Yeah. That's all the stuff from the roof, huh?
All this shit I've peeled off the roof so far.
Wow. You're tackling it. It's looking good.
This is brutal. All that butyl tape had water just like pooled under it.
Wow. So it didn't stick at all to the paint.
Well, it's stuck enough that it was hard to get off.
Yeah.
But on the seams where we had put the silicone, it didn't stick to that. So under the silicone and the butyl tape was water. Under
Gotcha.
both of them, each layer. It seemed like I pulled up this side first, and then this side bubbled up, and then I cut a slit in this side and pushed it, and all the water went down.
Wow.
So that like endless stream of water that kept going into the bus, it was living in that probably.
Probably. Wow. Is it on both sides?
What?
That tape, is it on both sides, or was it on just on this one?
On this front one.
Okay.
We had problems up there before.
Yep.
So.
Well, I'm glad that we're finding this now.
Me too. Before we put the deck on.
Yeah.
I mean the catwalk.
I just filled the tank up with water.
Oh, cool.
And I wanted to see if you wanted to charge the system with me.
Okay.
Yeah? All right, let's go do it. That means shower time soon. Are you excited?
Yeah.
It'll be nice.
So dirty.
It'll be nice. All right, let's go.